Hello and welcome to Co-Ed for Kids. We're going live. My name is Kelly Godell and I am the Regional Prevention Coordinator for Co-Ed, and we have been partnering with the Eastern Ohio Prevention Council and the Ohio Children's Trust Fund. We're very excited to be here today and to share with you some information about strengthening families and to show you a little bit about what we're doing going forward through 2018. Today we'll be spreading some educational information and highlighting a lot of the great work that's being done in Eastern Ohio. So welcome and thank you for joining us, and we hope you find this as enjoyable as we are, and pleased to be here doing it with you. Today my guest is Jennifer Lohman, who is our Family Services Coordinator here at Co-Ed and our resident specialist on strengthening families. Welcome, Jen, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jen, if you could maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at Co-Ed and how strengthening families falls into what we do here at Co-Ed and how it can be played out within our communities.
So I am the Regional Coordinator for Family and Community Services, serving 31 counties for Co-Ed, with the prevention grant being held in 10 of the counties that we serve. Strengthening Families framework is a strength-based child abuse prevention model developed by the Center for the Study of Social Policy. We began Strengthening Families framework, I would say about 5 years ago, in designated counties throughout the 31 counties that Co-Ed serves. We've done that in some different venues, doing some different projects and stuff, which we'll talk about what exactly Strengthening Families is. But as we work with families to look for child care and then work with child care providers, we help them embed the protective factors within the work that they do, as well as working with community agencies or anyone actually that works with children to embed those protective factors. So ultimately, Strengthening Families framework is a child abuse prevention model. So our goal is to reduce child abuse cases throughout those counties that we are working on this project in. And our goal is to do that by creating stronger families. To create stronger families, we are going to work to embed the 5 protective factors.
And we're going to be talking about those tomorrow. We're going to touch on them a little bit today, and we'll probably just give you a little bit of an overview. But if you join us back tomorrow at 4:30, we'll also be getting really into the protective factors. So wait for that tomorrow.
Yes. Those 5 protective factors are social and emotional competence of children, knowledge of parenting and child development, social connections, concrete support in times of need, and parental resilience.
And those all sound very, very important to all the work that we do, whether it's with child care providers or with our community agencies. So I think when we get into those tomorrow, we're going to talk, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about them today, but they just sound like such a good foundation. And so these are the 5 factors that really just build everything else?
Yes. To build those protective factors and embed those into the work that everyone is doing with children. Anyone who, we've worked with home visiting projects, programs, Head Starts that do home visiting, Help Me Grow that does home visiting, early intervention. We worked in different venues like that anyone who works with children, just to kind of help embed this work with what they do with children. We're going to talk about some of the strategies that you can use to embed those protective factors.
I'm going to interrupt. Okay. When we talk about embedding, and it's really about putting this, I'm going to define it and then you tell me what you think. But when I think about embedding something into our programs or into our organizations, in my mind, that means it's just part of our daily practice. These are things that we're thinking about all the time. Does that sound accurate when we're talking about the framework?
That is accurate. Many times, programs and individuals doing this work with families, it's part of your natural work. It's part of what you're doing every day. It's just pointing out, kind of making it yourself more aware that you're doing this, and then the things that you may not be doing, how can you beef those up, and what can you do to provide that work to families? So just some examples of some of those strategies is just to facilitate friendships and mutual support. What
does that look like in real life?
Yeah, so to have like a play date kind of situation maybe for your agency where the agency, the children, the parents can come together and just kind of network with each other, and the children can come together and play. It gives those parents a time that they can meet each other, learn a little bit more about each other. It's time that if they have questions and they want to ask a peer versus asking maybe a professional, so they don't feel judged maybe about something that they're doing.
And that's usually so much more comfortable, is having that peer-to-peer support network.
Yes.
I think that so often as a parent, and you're a parent as well, is
Absolutely.
that you don't realize that other parents are experiencing the same challenges or joys, and you sometimes feel all alone. And so that would be one strategy to help build those connections.
And then the very next strategy can be the strengthening parenting. So although it may not be a professional that you may be asking those questions to, it's a peer, but again, you feel comfortable not being judged. Again, like Kelly mentioned, we're parents, and it's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong, and it could be the joys. Stress that can lead to child abuse may not always be the negative stress. Stress can be positive.
It can be.
So it can also be, as you're working with the families, helping them respond to times of crisis. As things happen in the world or with your family, it could be the death of a family member. It could be that you got notification today that the electric's going out. So helping, it could be peer-to-peer, again, it could be agency to the parent and stuff, having resources and stuff to link the families to the resources that they need that can help them get maybe their electric paid, or just maybe it's some counseling for the parent or the child.
And I think one of our goals then will be also in incorporating strengthening families is to really identify all of those community resources that are out there that so often we're either not aware of, or maybe they're not highly marketed, and it's usually word of mouth that we're learning about these programs, and there's a wealth of information and contacts out there, and so this could be one way to help bring that information together. And I know that is extremely valuable to families, to feel as though they're not alone or that there's no one out there to help. But so often you can only Google so much
Right.
to find the information. So the framework then allows you, and these community networks allow you to see what's really happening in your neighborhoods.
Absolutely. We have found, even as our own agency and working with families and providers, what an agency in one county may offer may be a little different in the next county. Most counties all have the same programs, but it may not be offered by the same agency. So sometimes it's just locating who the maybe holder of the funding is to provide that service. And we have in past projects utilized some time coming together as a group and then bringing some outside speakers in to talk about what each of the agencies offer,
and the other part
resources
is,
that are available.
Support doesn't always take place just in those very formalized government agencies or social service agencies. There's always a lot of resources, I think, that we forget about, such as church groups, such as just other social networking opportunities that may or may not be available in every community, but sometimes there's a lot of things out there that we just don't know about that could be providing a wonderful and positive, supportive opportunities for us. And I think that's something that, as we move forward through 2018, is one of my goals for this project, is to continue identifying all of those different small, big, and interesting, maybe even quirky support systems that exist in our neighborhoods and communities. I think that'll be really exciting for all of us.
Well, and I think, too, as our viewers may know of things that are taking place in their counties, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Because you're in the counties, and we learn as much as we can about those counties.
And if you're out there and part of an agency or an organization and you would like to be highlighted, we could certainly have a conversation with you about highlighting your services and your community in this type of forum as well.
Absolutely. So just to go right along with responding to families in time of crisis, it's linking families to the services and opportunities that are available out there. So we've really talked a lot about that.
Tremendous goal for us.
It's also just showing the value and support to the parents I think it's important to remember that parents are they are the first and most important caregiver of the child.
Yes.
So showing the value to the family. Sometimes it's also just not judging the family and asking questions and getting to know that family and stuff. We often pass that judgment the first time we see. Maybe mom's always coming in to pick up the child, or when you arrive at their home to provide services, they're always on the phone. But it's maybe sometimes just asking those questions about what may be going on. We've learned some very valuable information by doing that. It could be that dad is deployed, and this is the one time a day to make some connections and stuff with the parent getting off work, then between time zone differences and things like that.
So relationship building.
Absolutely. Facilitate the children's social and emotional development, working with the parents to do that.
And so I think when we talk about social and emotional development, we're not only just talking like how is that child progressing age-wise and physically, but also that social, how do they interact with others, how do they interact with their siblings, how do they interact with other adults, etc., and their emotional development as they're getting older and learning to identify and handle their emotions in an age-appropriate way. And I know that we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow when we talk about protective factors, but I think that we often forget that we're not just looking at the physical age of the child, but also the social age of the child and the emotional age. And those, as we go through development and as parents, we often see there's different stressors perhaps that come along with those different ages and development.
Yes. And then one of the other strategies is to observe and respond to early warning signs of child abuse and neglect. So as the professionals working with children, going in, maybe whether it's going in and out of homes, maybe it's through other venues, it's just being important to know what the warning signs are of abuse, and remembering abuse is not always physical, and the different types of, knowing the different types of abuse, and just making sure that maybe you're making those different interactions and stuff with the family that way.
And so that kind of overview of the framework. So we talk about, the ultimate goal being to prevent child abuse and prevention, and then with that going back and being the stronger families and building them stronger families within all of our communities, and then using these 5 factors to create the environment where families can become stronger. And just to recap those, we're going to talk about social and emotional competence of children, knowledge of parenting and child development, social connections, concrete support in times of need, and parent resilience. And we use that word parent resilience, and we're going to, as I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but parent resilience is a word that we toss around, and it really just means the ability to bounce back and to see things for what they are, to address them head on, and do it in a healthy and positive way. So in recapping what the framework shows us and how we can move along and get there, it does provide us with a really good foundation. As moving forward with strengthening families in the communities that we'll be serving, part of what we'll be doing is providing learning networks. And so learning networks will be bringing together groups of people from providers, child care providers, agencies, and the community who are interested in learning more about the framework and how it can be incorporated into their daily lives or to their daily business or organizations or agencies. And then as taking it back and looking at their personal agency and identifying how it can be incorporated, what goals they can set, and what actions they need to take to actually embed it into their daily lives and organization. So tomorrow we'll be talking about the protective factors, and we hope that you'll join us again to talk about those a little bit more. And we hope you enjoyed our first segment of Co-Ed for Kids going live, and we'll see you here tomorrow. Thank you and have a great day.